So you guys have been watching some of my videos that I had pre-recorded before my trip to Mexico, and a lot of them are reviews of the stem cell clinics that I had consults with or consultations. This clinic I actually did receive treatment at, and so I saved this one for last because while those other videos were uploading, I was actually getting treatment at this clinic. I wanted to make sure that I gave the best, most balanced possible review. Because one of the things about this clinic is that if you find it on Google or if you find it on TripAdvisor, they have some of the most amazing, most glowing reviews that you have ever seen for any stem cell clinic. We're talking about hundreds of 5-star reviews, and they're actually, I think, like a TripAdvisor, like certified, I don't know, there's a name for it when they have such excellent reviews. We'll talk about that. I might save that for the end of the video because there is something a little bit odd about it. So I'm going to start with the pros of Holistic Biospa. So this place is in Puerto Vallarta in Mexico. And I actually did get treatment there. I was in Puerto Vallarta from mid-June to mid-July, receiving all kinds of treatments. So that's the first pro. They have all of these treatments in one convenient place. They do have 2 locations, so it's possible for you to go to the other location if you want treatments at the other location. But for the most part, one location, all of these treatments. So I received, this might not be the complete list because there was a lot of treatments. I had plasmapheresis, colonics, infrared sauna, ionic foot detox, vitamin IVs, NAD IVs, vitamin D shots, 10-pass ozone, something called SCIO. I had a sleep evaluation, a structural evaluation, and probably some other stuff. I will do separate videos on each of these treatments, talking about, how they go, what do they do, and did I feel any improvement? How did I feel after the treatment? So I'll do separate videos, like mini videos for each of those treatments. So that's one of the biggest pros. The prices are also cheaper in Mexico than they are here. So your vitamin IVs are going to be a lot less expensive over there than they are over here. And if you know anything about, for example, NAD IVs, they're extremely, extremely expensive. They're like, I think they can go up to like $1,000 per IV. So, I have done IVs. I did one IV when I came back, not of NAD, but just a regular like Myers type of cocktail thing. And yeah, they are a lot more expensive here than they are in Mexico. And I had several, so I didn't just have one of each of these. I typically had multiple of each of these treatments. The nurses are excellent. They are probably the best thing about this clinic. They are the backbone of this clinic. They are probably better than nurses here in the US. That's what I found. They seem much more dedicated than some of the other staff members, and we'll talk about that. They are very polite, very gentle. They do whatever they need to do to make you comfortable with your treatment and to get you through your treatments. They even seem frustrated when they don't see that you're getting better. They seem to care probably more than anyone else in that clinic. They're also always watching you. Sometimes you think that they're not watching or that they're not paying attention, and they are. I had a situation where I started having like a rapid heartbeat with one of the treatments, and I kind of put my hand over my chest. I was just sitting there and I put my hand over my chest. I didn't say anything because I didn't know like what was happening. And immediately one of the nurses, actually a nurse that had never attended to me because she actually was not in charge of the IVs. I think she was a nurse for other types of care. And she immediately was like, "What happened? Are you okay?" Like she came up to me and then she started looking for one of the other nurses. It was crazy. The fact that she just, she was like a hawk. She noticed immediately that something was going on. And yes, I was having a side effect to the IV. It wasn't just in my imagination. So they take you in on time. They give you, they give you your treatment protocol, and each day it tells you what time to arrive at, what time your treatments are going to start at. And they pretty much take you back on time. They don't make you wait for a long time for your treatments and all of that. So those are kind of the pros as far as like the good things about the clinic and the way the clinic is run. Now, there are a lot of bad things about this clinic. It took me forever to get my appointments, to schedule everything. They kind of gave me the runaround. I kind of suspected maybe it was because, I had sent them my medical history already, and they kind of like, maybe they thought, there's really nothing much we can do for her. So they were, I always suspect like, oh, they're trying to make me go away, or they don't want to do, they can't help me. But I did read other reviews, some of the negative reviews that are few and far between with this clinic, or some of the criticisms were that it's very difficult to schedule, that it's very difficult to get through. It takes a really long time to get a response through email, through phone call. It's just I don't know what's going on with them. I know that they're expanding. They've expanded to a second location. They are adding dentistry to their clinic. It's just, there's just something weird about whatever is going on there with scheduling and stuff like that. The other thing too was I had blood work done, like I think like my second day. I had to go to another place to get the blood work done. That was a hassle. And then they just forgot about it. And so like 2 weeks passed, and I was like, hey, what about my blood work? And finally one of the doctors went over it with me, and it was just like insignificant. It was really, that should have been my first clue that there was something kind of off, that there was something that, just didn't sit well with me, that they would just forget, that they would make me go pay, first of all, pay hundreds of dollars for blood work and then just blow it off. So basically you get there and you're assigned a doctor. I was assigned Dr. Priscilla, and Dr. Priscilla designs my protocol. The protocol that they gave me before I went, when I was scheduling stuff, changed completely. So, and she told me, she said, everything is going to change. So they do your intake, your physical exam, and they ask you all kinds of questions. And I did tell them about how, my bad response to exosomes. So exosomes and stem cells were basically off the table. So they basically designed this protocol. When I looked at it, I was like, I don't know if this is going to help, because I'm not, it was just like a bunch of IVs and all of that. And so, I mean, I understood, because I have been told by other doctors, like, don't do stem cells, don't do exosomes again. You're just going to keep having a bad response. So they did explain to me, and that was one good thing, is that the doctor did explain to me what might have gone wrong with the exosomes and the stems, or the exosomes, which are, similar to stem cells. So I did like that. I liked that she explained it to me, and she explained, I guess, why we couldn't do that again. She didn't say it in those words, but she did give me at least an explanation. Now, there's going to be something else that I'm going to mention about the Dr. Priscilla. There was another doctor there. She was a new doctor. Her name was Dr. Esley. And she was there in my initial appointment. And I kind of wasn't sure who she was, but she was actually a new doctor. She was going to be replacing another doctor that was leaving. And that's one thing that I have noticed when I looked through, sorry, I'm shaking the table. When I looked through the reviews that I saw on TripAdvisor and on Google, which are basically like the same reviews, is that they have high turnaround of doctors. The doctors last maybe a couple years, and then they're gone, and they move on to another post. And I don't think that that's great. And there is some, I don't know if the patients that are leaving these reviews are just guessing, but some of them even say, or they mention, that there are issues between like the owner or the main guy of the clinic and these doctors. But while I was there, one doctor left. So he didn't, not on bad terms. I guess he was just moving on to a different job, but he did leave, and Dr. Esley was there taking his place. And I kind of found that out through just listening and conversations that I would overhear. So that's not good. The other thing I want to mention, and speaking of the reviews, and this is something that is really, really important to take into consideration. And trust me, I went through the reviews with a fine-tooth comb. I was going over these reviews over and over and over and over again because I could not believe the amount of glowing reviews. You would think that this place, I was going to say, you would think that this place cures cancer, but according to some people, they actually do, because they do a lot of holistic cancer treatment here. But you would think that this place is a miraculous, I don't know, place of curing every disease. One thing that I did see was that a doctor, my doctor, Dr. Priscilla, left a review for the clinic. So if the doctors are leaving positive reviews for the clinic, I imagine that the rest of the staff are also leaving reviews. And it's easy to overlook it because they're just using their regular name. It didn't say Dr. Priscilla, it said Priscilla in her last name, as if she was a patient. So I would exercise caution when you're going through those reviews, because the clinic staff is likely leaving some of those reviews, and you don't know because they're just posting their regular name. I did notice as well, there was a lady that I met there. Her husband was receiving treatment. She left a positive review, and they weren't done with treatment. Because they were currently getting treatment when I went there, and the review, she had already posted it since a while back. So reviews are being posted by clinic staff. Reviews are being posted by family of patients that have not completed treatment. And there are other reviews that are posted after a patient dies. I think I saw a couple of reviews where the patient had ended up dying, but their family left like a positive review saying that like the clinic did such a great job. And it's like, yes, it doesn't necessarily mean that the clinic did a bad job, because there are patients that are going in there that have terminal cancers, and they're just trying to see if this is going to help. This lady that I'm talking about, she was there, and her husband had a pancreatic cancer. So you really, really have to take the reviews with a grain of salt, because they're not always left by patients, and they are sometimes left by clinic staff. That's my next thing that I want to get to. There was one staff member there that she really did rub me the wrong way. And she was actually in my, she was at my initial consultation. She was the naturopath. I'm not going to name her. I know I have her name written down somewhere, but I feel kind of bad because she was very nice, very, very nice, very friendly. She would say hi every day. Whenever she would see me or anybody else, she was like, "Hi, how are you?" Really nice. But there was something that I noticed, and this is one thing too, that people can be very, very nice, but they can still be awful people. They can still be very self-absorbed. They're just nice, they're just nice and friendly, and they're sweet. But that doesn't, she's works there. She has to be nice to everybody. But there were a couple of occasions, where, and I think I talked about this in another video, so I don't want to get into it too deep. But she was receiving treatments. And for a moment, I thought to myself, there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe she's on vacation. Maybe she's off this week and she's receiving treatments. You work at this clinic. Why not? But I don't think she was off. I don't think, maybe she was off the clock. Maybe she was on her lunch break. But she was, because I would see her going to the back offices. And so I'm thinking to myself, okay, she's not on vacation. She is currently working, or at least she feels comfortable enough to go into the back offices where the employees go. But she was receiving treatments, and she received multiple treatments. I think she did like hyperbarics one day, and another day she had another type of treatment. And I remember her mentioning to me that she was also a patient. She was also really sick. She was one of those where it's like, they believe that they can help other people because they've gotten better. They're like, okay, you can get better and I can get you better. And that's not the way things work. That did not sit well with me. There was one occasion where there were several of us there. And I also want to mention, I was I think I was the only or one of the few non-cancer patients there. Everybody else was being treated for cancer. And this lady walks in and she's like, "Oh, I need to get this IV. I need to get this IV. I've just been so worn out, my adrenal glands, blah, blah, blah." And there were several of us. That was one of the busier days that I had seen, because sometimes I would get there. I would be one of the first ones to get there for an IV. and it was just me. It was me for like an hour or for like 30 minutes, and then other people would start showing up. That day there were like 4 of us already, and then other people showed up later. And she's coming in there asking for an IV, and I'm thinking to myself, the nurses already have all of these other sick, sometimes very, very sick patients. There are patients with like open wounds. There are patients who are just very ill. They're having a hard time staying awake. And she's walking in like, I need to get a treatment. Like, I feel terrible. I feel so. And that's why I'm saying that even though she was very, very nice, she did come across as very self-absorbed. Like read the room. There are other very, very sick people that take priority, that are paying and that have priority over you. And she just didn't have that. And the clinic should have been responsible for telling her, you know what, right now is not a good time. Maybe wait for after hours, or wait for another time when the clinic isn't so busy to receive your treatments, because she is an employee there. She is a paid employee there. That didn't sit well with me. That, on top of the fact that employees get to leave reviews for the clinic, I'm wondering if that's sort of like what they do. Like, okay, you can receive treatments during working hours, but you have to leave us a positive review. I don't know. But that's just, it's bad business, and it doesn't make the clinic look good, because you're taking time away from patients who are very, very ill, and you're taking advantage of your position there. So that was not good. The doctors, leave a lot to be desired. They're very young. I would say they're probably in their early 30s or maybe even late 20s. And like I said, there's high turnaround on top of the fact that they're very young. And there was sort of a lack of dedication from what I saw. Dr. Priscilla was the one that did my initial appointment. So you're supposed to have your intake appointment, and then you're supposed to have your last appointment, where you're done with all your treatments, and then you get to, and then you leave. They told me basically at the last minute that she was out of town, so she wasn't going to be able to do my final consultation or whatever. And she had already been out of town for a few days, according to whoever it was that told me. And I thought to myself, that should have been something that they notified me about when the doctor told them I'm going to be out of town. And so they were like, oh, she can do a video consult with you. She could, she'll connect with you over video. Do you have a laptop with you? And I had not taken a laptop with me, because why would I need a laptop? I'm not working over there. And I'm looking at them like, okay, during this time, Dr. Esley was the new doctor that was replacing the doctor that was leaving. And Dr. Esley was at my first appointment. And she had actually been with me throughout my treatment. Dr. Priscilla kind of disappeared. I saw her maybe once or twice, and she would just kind of like say hi and then go her own way somewhere. Dr. Esley had been with me, more than any of the other doctors, and she had been in communication with Dr. Priscilla. So I was like, why doesn't Dr. Esley just do my final appointment? I suggested that only because I wanted to physically see a doctor. But in my opinion, Dr. Priscilla should have still followed up. It would have shown me that she cared. It would have shown me that she was concerned. And it would have shown her dedication to her job. And it was unfortunate that she did not do that. I still got to talk to Dr. Esley. Like I said, she was new. So she kind of, I have a feeling that I was like her first patient that she had done like one of these appointments with on her own, because she was a little bit kind of lost, and she did the best that she could given the circumstances. I cannot blame Dr. Esley whatsoever. Dr. Priscilla was the one responsible, and Dr. Priscilla should have followed up with me. The other reason that the doctor should have followed up with me, and I understand, fine, she was out of town. Maybe that's true, maybe that's not. The doctors should follow up with patients afterwards, like a couple months later, after they've gone back home. If they can do video consults, I don't see why they wouldn't be able to. And I do believe, and I actually think that they do this with some patients. They just didn't do it with me. I think they do it with other patients where they follow up like sometime after. And they should, because I did experience improvement in some areas, and I really wanted to go over that. It would have been interesting to talk to the doctor and to get her take on what it was that benefited me. And unfortunately, I was not able to do that. So, I spoke to Dr. Esley. That was good enough, and I had to be satisfied with that. But again, I'm paying for this, and I'm not getting what I'm paying for, which isn't fair, I don't think. I in no way expected this place to cure me of anything. So I didn't go there with the expectation that I was going to come out of there 100% cured. What did improve? What improvements did I see? So I did see improvement in menstrual cramps. Now, I had seen improvement with this particular issue. If you guys don't know or haven't watched my other videos, I have gotten menstrual cramps to the point where I've almost blacked out, where I start dry heaving. And the only thing that has actually helped that was the Gamma Guard, basically the immune globulin that I was on for a while. And it took 3 years for the immune globulin to bring that pain down to a really manageable level. 1 month of treatment here brought the pain down back to that manageable level. My pain had actually been going back up because I had to stop the immune globulin, the IG. Let's just call it the IG. My pain had actually started going back up because I had to stop it, as you guys know, due to the exosomes. If you don't know, go look at my exosomes playlist. So I had to stop my IG, and my pain started going back up. I mean, when I'm not on my IG, things start to go bad very, very quickly within a few months. I was very impressed that my pain went down with these treatments. I don't know exactly which treatment did the trick, but one of them did. Now I was like, okay, my pain might be lower, but that doesn't mean anything. My pain could go back up next month. So at the beginning of August, I was already back home. My pain was still good. It isn't non-existent, but it was pretty low. And in September, it was also still, I think it was even less than in August. So I am hoping that improvement holds. I also had a skin rash, like a yeast infection type of topical skin infection. I had done everything. I had done the creams, I had done the steroids, I had done everything here that I could possibly do. And nothing was making it go away. And within the first week, it started clearing up. That and a couple patches of eczema that I had on my arm started clearing up. What else? And my stomach issues. So this is why I feel that it's important for the doctors to follow up a couple months later, because it took about 3 weeks after I returned, 3 weeks to about a month, for my stomach to calm down. And when my stomach calmed down, it actually felt pretty good. And I was having better appetite. I was actually feeling hunger, which I wasn't feeling any of that because I was in a really, really bad flare when I left, when I went to Mexico, due to an antibiotic treatment. And I think I talk about that in one of my other videos. I was really sick. I mean, severe bloating, nausea, dyspepsia, just my GI from top to bottom was a mess. And it took, just a few weeks after my treatment for that to calm down. And I was like, wow, I feel good. I feel hungry, which is, very unusual for me, especially with all the things that have been going on this year. They were very nice. I can't say that they weren't. They gave me a cute little going away party with balloons, and they gave me like a mug as a going away present. There were other things that I think that they should do. One thing is separate patients. There are patients that are very, very sick that really deserve their own private room. They offered me like a private area because it was my very last IV, and they were like, "Do you want a separate room?" Because I was kind of struggling through it, and I was like, "I have like 30 minutes left of this IV, and you guys are barely offering me a separate room." And to be honest, I wasn't the one that needed it. There were other people there that were very, very ill that could have benefited from their own separate room. And they really need to do that as a courtesy to some of their sickest patients. You shouldn't have to pay extra for that or wait for somebody to offer it to you. It should just be, read the room. That's exactly what I was saying earlier. I would like to go back. I think that they have a lot of really great treatments there all in one place. But unfortunately, it's unclear whether they even have any kind of plan, any kind of follow-up plan. But, I felt that it was worth the money. I think you get pretty good bang for your buck, but they just need some better doctors. They need doctors that are dedicated. They need doctors that are persistent. They need doctors that really want to do this, and that are not going to be intimidated by patients who are very sick. So my biggest complaint is the doctors, and they really need to show the doctors and some of the other staff members. Like I said, they need to be a little bit more professional and show a little bit more dedication, because you really almost get a vibe that even they don't believe in these treatments. Like, we're just here to make money. We're here to get you in and out, take your money and get out. And speaking of that, they will give you a refund if they can't complete your treatments. I actually was scheduled to get 2 plasmapheresis, but the second one I didn't get because they didn't have the supplies for it, and they hadn't arrived. So they will give you a refund. Takes a little while, but they will give you a refund for any treatments that you don't receive. So I was like, whatever. It came out cheaper than what I had initially paid, and I can't say that it was a horrible experience. It was very interesting, and I'll talk about that in my other videos where I go through each treatment. But they really need some doctors that are a little bit more dedicated, and I don't know, just that aren't so afraid, I guess. I don't know. But anyways, that's my review of Holistic Biospa. Check out their reviews online. They really have some incredible reviews, but go through them with a fine-tooth comb. Don't take everything at face value, because I don't think it is exactly the way that people are saying. And I will leave a review on there whenever I get around to it. I have to write my review. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.